Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy, invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy, building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want. Episode 13.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Mighty Married Moms, and we're excited to review what we talked about with Dr. Suzanne Phillips of, remember her website, it was
couplesaftertrauma.com.
Yeah, that's right, couplesaftertrauma.com. She has a lot more wisdom and than just that specific topic, but she was just tremendous. But you could find a lot of her work and more of her content by going to that website. So wasn't she terrific?
She was incredible.
She really was. I was really taken with her 4 steps of how to really build on a relationship. You guys wrote it down. Yep, go for it.
Look, laugh, let it go, and affirmation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she was really good because what I had originally was drawn to when I was looking at her blog was her piece on eye contact and how imperative it was to maintain eye contact in a soft gaze way, as opposed to what I tend to do in my relationship, which is tend to use glare more often than gaze. And we didn't talk about this, but the thing that really struck me when I was reading her stuff was that she offered up a test. She said, think back to when you were courting or dating the person you ended up marrying, and think about the time that you spent gazing lovingly into their eyes. Now, think about current day. When was the last time you looked at them that way? And I was like, oh dear. My heart sunk. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I hardly spend any time looking deeply into my husband's eyes.
Actually, observing you with your husband, I would say that's not true.
Really?
We do a lot more gazing.
Really?
Not a lot of glare. Yeah.
Not a lot of glare. Oh, that's good to know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's something I've noticed, actually, about you. Nice thing. Good thing.
Oh, that's a good... Thank you for that feedback. I'm glad to hear that.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Good to know.
Give yourself credit for it. That's
sure.
I have a funny story related to that, and then I'll let you tell what you were going to say, and that is our family gets together every summer in New Hampshire at my parents' house. And there was one summer, I don't remember if it was last summer or the summer before. It was relatively recently. I have 2 sisters, and my parents were there, of course. And somehow the conversation turned to the look. And the husbands were all saying something along the lines of, oh, yes, I know what the look is. And we were all saying, the look? What do you mean, the look? The look? And at that point, one of my brothers-in-law did the look.
Oh, there it is.
And all of a sudden, I felt very convicted because I have more than once done this to my husband. Mm. And he knows the look. And so it was actually a pretty funny conversation. But
all 4 women, the mom and the 3 daughters,
yeah,
have
we all have the look. And to be fair, it's probably more often and more frequently used than the look by the men. I think so.
I see. Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, there's the look.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't we just talk about that?
Right.
Or are you forgetting that? Or who knows what it could. It's used for many things. And the conversation today was really convicting to me to remind me not to use the look. And instead, I am committing to going home and gazing lovingly in my husband's eyes at some point today.
There you go. I like that. Yeah, she was really... the word that she used that I found interesting as a former nurse was the word regulation, and how the mother and the baby co-regulate one another by gazing into each other's eyes, and how when you are connected to somebody and you look at them and there is... your blood pressure down. You can feel. I get that totally. And then if I'm under stress, like I had a car accident, I mentioned on the previous episode that I had a car accident a couple of weeks ago, and I was possessed with getting my husband on the phone and getting him in front of me. He was at home, 25 miles away, but I was like, you have to come. I'm okay. Nobody's taking me away in an ambulance, but I need to see you. So it's very, very interesting. It's like an autonomic response. Like I need to look at you and see you so that I know that I'm okay. Right. There's some sort of a reflection or a safety there. So I found that word regulation interesting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I've never nurtured a baby, but so does that make sense to you all that have nurtured your babies at your breast?
I can see that. And it's not just babies. Honestly, it's kids.
Yeah.
And I talk about that. And in fact, I'm studying a lot of the works from Brian Post at the Post Institute, who talks a lot about regulation. And he says that if we learn to regulate ourselves, because our own bodies vibrate, then we will help to regulate the people around us. Like, have you ever walked into a room and said, there's just something that doesn't feel right in here, and
the energy
is off, and you realize, it's because so and so is in a really stinky mood, and you can
it's sucked right in, isn't it?
Yes, and I don't know what it is. I don't know scientifically what it is, but there's something about it. I'm online with a lot of people who talk about the vibrations that we emanate from our bodies and our thoughts, and regardless of what you think of that, it is true. When you walk into a room, you can tell what the vibration is in the room.
Totally.
And so, yes, there's a connection between people. And the thing that I also was interested in talking with her is I've read the book many years ago, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And in that book, Dr. Deborah Tannen talks about how girls will sit like this, and they'll look each other in the eyes, whereas boys, they're side by side.
Yeah.
And they've done a lot of studies about that.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
John Gray wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Oh.
Deborah Tannen wrote
You Just Don't Understand
You Just Don't
Me.
Understand
That's right.
Me.
Thank you for correcting me.
You're welcome. I just want to make sure our listeners get the right book.
Yeah. I've read them both, clearly.
Yeah. But Deborah Tannen's work,
Yes.
fascinating.
Great stuff.
Fascinating. Have you read that book about how men and women speak differently, like you just said?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness
Connect differently.
gracious.
Connect
Yes.
differently.
Yes. And that's where a lot of our hits and misses come from, is you just don't understand me, but it's because we're just doing life differently.
Well, I thought I was really struck by her, talking about the research and experience in her work about how couples who've been married for a long time are less likely to know each other as opposed to newlyweds.
Yeah, but you explained it. Thank you.
Well, I was just it really hit me, and it makes sense, because when you are dating, you are certainly invested in getting to know the other person, and you're invested in complimenting and noticing everything great. And then when you get married, you have kids, and everything else gets in the way. You just you don't think that investment is necessary anymore. Maybe
Right.
I don't know, or it doesn't become a priority anymore. And I think what we're getting a lot from relationship studies is that it continues to be a priority. We need to make it a priority, because relationship is co-created, and we need to pay attention to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. She did a great job unpacking that for us. And you know what else I really appreciate about what she said, and I don't do it enough? Let it go. Just like the movie, let it go. I tend to. To be fair, I'm migrating away from it, but I tend to be of the school. Do I want to be right, or do I want to be happy? I kind of want to be right. But
It's
if I
easy
want
to
to
fall
be,
into that.
yeah,
It is.
and I think it's true that it might be more of a woman's thing rather than just let it go. It doesn't matter in the grand. But I really do want to be right. But like I said, and to be fair, I am kind of learning how to kind of let that go and remember and recall what's important about my relationship. What was her example? Like, does he know how to cook? Maybe not. Does he know how to do the groceries well? Maybe not. But is he on the soccer field every day with the kids? Is he, on the train every day, going in and out of work and coming home to me every night? Think about the things that are important and affirm that.
Absolutely.
That was
Absolutely.
really
That's that affirmation she was talking about.
fourth piece.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying. I think last week we were talking about, my husband explained that concept to me in the way of, if you have to, talk about everything, it takes the mystery away from the relationship. And there are times when you should know each other well. It's not, it's important to just know each other and not have to discuss every little tidbit of everything. But I thought when she said, it is true, and I've certainly caught myself saying, and I just want to say, just to be clear, when it's all over.
Just to be clear.
I just want to make sure you know that I really meant,
nail it in. Right.
Yeah, I've definitely
Guilty.
done
Oh,
that,
I
yeah.
have totally had trouble letting things go with my kids when they were, growing up, and I felt like they weren't listening, and that's a whole other issue in terms of listening. We talk too much, to be honest. And
meaning?
Well, if you're trying to make a point and you feel like that somebody's not cooperating, kids in particular, or a husband in some cases, if you feel like somebody's not cooperating, it's because they've learned to expect it. You're going to say it 15 times, and so they don't realize that. Oh, maybe if you only say it once and you say it like you mean it, and you wait, and this is key, you get their eye contact. In other words, if you've got a kid who's on their computer screen like this, and you say, "Would you please take out the trash now? I asked you to do it an hour ago, and you still haven't done it." "Okay, yeah, Mom."
Yeah.
You know, and they're still playing on their screen and everything. You go and you've asked them once now. You go and you stand next to them. You wait for them to stop what they're doing, make eye contact, which is the whole point of what we were talking about today.
Right.
And then you look at them and say, "What did I ask you to do?" In a very calm, curious tone of voice, not a
Accusatory.
Accusatory, thank you. And the kid will say, "You asked me to take out the trash." And you stand there and you say, "Great, thank you." And you continue to stand there.
Ooh, that's a good...
With a nice, neutral expression on your face. You continue to stand there and you do not say it again. But you've made eye contact, you've connected, which is huge, and then the kid will hopefully at that point say, "Okay, fine," and they get up and they go do it because they know you mean business. And if they say, you know, then you can get onto all these other things like, "Oh, I don't want to do it right now, blah, blah, blah." "Okay, when will you plan to do it? I've asked you to do it twice now and you haven't done it, so when are you going to do it? You tell me."
Yeah.
And then the onus is on them.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, so that's
a good tactic.
Yeah, a good parenting thing, but it really comes down to the fact that we talk too much.
Interesting.
And we don't make the connection when we're talking, and that's why people don't listen to us.
Have you ever heard the expression, "We teach people how to treat us"?
Yeah, actually, I haven't heard it in a while, but you're right.
So that's the same concept, is like, she's going to say it 12 times. So by the 13th time, I know that I really need to do it.
Yeah,
right. The first, but you're in the meantime expending energy and agita for 12 times.
Right.
Whereas if we teach people that I say it once, and it's expected that you'll get it done, because I'm not asking you to, you know, jump over the moon. I'm asking you to take out the trash. I'm not asking you something impossible.
Right.
So if we like, I really like what you're saying. So we need to own it and then teach it in a way by behavior, which is I say it once, I say it clearly, and I say it with a kind, neutral expression.
Right.
Nothing. I'm not yelling.
I'm actually starting to think of calling this as the golden rule parenting model, which is do unto others as you would have them treat you. You know, how many parents yell and scream at their kids?
Absolutely.
And you wouldn't want to be yelled and screamed
You get
at.
back what you put out.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, another way of saying it. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you give back what you put out.
So it really
totally.
comes down to that connection that you stop and you make the intentional connection. It needs to be intentional.
Right.
And that's where we get stopped.
Right.
That's where we get stuck in our busyness and our daily busyness. We don't stop to say, "I need to connect with my husband right now."
Yeah.
Or I need to connect with my kid. Or, you know, even at work, I need to connect with this worker. I know that they're really busy and stressed out. I need to go stand next to their desk and say, "How can I help you today?"
Right.
And wait for them to look you in the eye.
Right.
I think it's huge.
Right.
It's
and try to
huge.
hold their gaze for a little bit more than a nanosecond. Yeah.
What's really powerful too, I think, if you are a person who chooses to have eye contact and make that a priority, because eye contact is very intimate, right?
is.
So I'm looking at you and I'm really looking at your eyes. It's very intimate, and if you really think about it, so few people do it.
Yeah.
So few people do it. So
Very
if you
few.
do it, you're going to be more powerful, and your intentions will be understood more clearly, and so you'll be able to be more effective.
Right. Makes total sense. It makes total sense. It's interesting, though. She said it, and she's a psychologist, so she must be right, is that teenagers are more shy about that eye contact piece.
Absolutely. My experience.
So it's
that's
an interesting
absolutely true.
thing, like how to surmount that.
I think it's that teenage boy thing that we were talking about. I think it's not, for the most part, it's not so much true with teenage girls because they do and they look like this. Although if they're feeling a little angsty, they may not want to look at you in the face either.
Right.
So every parent who drives their kids around knows that the best way to get real information is to drive their kids around.
Right.
Absolutely. And when my boys were little, they share a bedroom. And when they were little, my husband built a loft so that they could play underneath. And they had this loft. And the loft was big enough so that there were two single mattresses, but there was a space in between big enough for me or my husband, really. And so every night for years,
we
would lay down with them as they were falling asleep. And let me tell you, those are the best conversations we ever had. Then all of a sudden, the whole day
opens up.
And, and with boys, it's true, and I think she said it as well. Suzanne said it, is that you need to wait until they're ready. So it's either driving the car, or for us, it was also, that up there in the loft, and it was
You know what? And I'll tell you, don't give that up now that they're teenagers. You don't have to go up in the loft with them.
Right.
Sit in their room at night.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
That's the best time to connect with teenagers, and I even have that on my
It is.
website.
It's amazing.
It's amazing because they don't
Will
have
they
all
let
their
you?
friends. Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
They
would?
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because they're starting to shut down. They're probably still doing some social media with their friends. They're probably still doing some homework, and they want to procrastinate on that. So you just go and you sit down in your room and you ask an innocuous question. Hey, how'd your math class go today? Or
right.
who'd you have lunch with today? Or what do you think about your soccer coach? Or something like that.
Right,
and
right.
all of a sudden, it's all going to start to spill out.
And I definitely, if I can, if I can, I can't. But most of the time, I can. If I'm in the middle of doing something and my son starts to talk to me,
Stop.
I drop what I'm doing.
I do too.
And I pay attention because I know if you let the opportunity pass, it may never come again.
Exactly. That's it.
You
You're
won't
never
know that
gonna-
information.
You have to
won't
jump
know
on
it.
it.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. You have to jump
It is
on it.
so true.
So true. But I think also what she said, and I have definitely noticed this even in business interactions, that whole, hey Wendy, how you doing?
yeah,
You
that
put
was
your hand
great.
on someone's arm. It is very grounding. It feels very connected instantly. Like there's some kind of warmth that
Right.
happens when
Right.
physical touch happens,
Right.
even if it's just this.
I had a friend in high school, actually we grew up together, who used to do that. She would just, take somebody's arm and just talk to you like this.
Pat you a little bit.
Yeah, and just, this kind of thing. And I never really thought about it at the time. I was a teenager. I didn't know any better. But it really connected me to her. And really, I loved her for that. And it made me feel really comfortable with her.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
She still does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
That's interesting, and I wonder about different parts of the country because for me, it's a tried and true New Englander. It takes me a while before I feel comfortable giving somebody a hug, hello. Where there are a lot of women who just are natural huggers, and I'm like, oh gosh, I hope you don't think I'm rude, but so it's an interesting thing,
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true. And I don't know if it's country or part of the country or just the family that you grew up in.
Yep.
Combination.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept. That's one of the things in marriage education. There are people who say, you don't have to, everything doesn't have to be a big conversation with your husband. It can be just a little touch on the elbow, like, oh, what's for dinner? And touch somebody on the elbow, or touch their back, or just give them, whatever. Just as you're going through the kitchen, just a nice little pat on the back or something like that. It doesn't always have to be a verbal exchange, which I think is really helpful. Yeah, she. What was the other piece that I wanted to bring out that she had said? This piece, the slow down.
Yes. Slowing down.
Oh my gosh.
We talk fast.
Right.
It goes along with talking too much. We talk
Right.
too fast.
Right.
Yes.
Talking too much.
Especially those of us in New England, right?
Absolutely. We totally do.
Yeah.
If I go down, my brother lives near Atlanta, and you go down there, and it really is a very different world.
Yeah.
And they look at me like, you talk so fast. Really? I do? I don't think I talk fast.
Yeah. Okay, so
Where I come from.
I'll invite our listeners and viewers from around the country. Go ahead and go write on the on our website or underneath the YouTube video. Go ahead and tell us, what do you think about people who talk fast or talk slow?
Yeah, that's
Do
a
we
good
talk
idea.
fast? Do you think that we talk fast?
I know,
right?
we're all
Even on
New Englanders.
right? Yeah.
I know. Maybe you're having trouble keeping up. Who knows? Right?
Well, I'm from New Jersey originally, but I've been in New England since I was 18. So.
Yeah. So long. And you're
I have
Pennsylvania?
too. And I'm from Pennsylvania.
That's right. Born and raised in Massachusetts. Just saying.
Yeah, we can tell by your accent.
Well, can I just tell you that only since we've been doing these recordings do I notice that I have a New England accent.
A little bit, tiny bit.
I've been going around my whole life going, I don't have a New England accent. I talked myself out of that when I was young. Not true.
A little bit.
No, it's there. It's there. Not quite as thick as some, but it is definitely.
No, some are really thick.
I know, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was also struck by, you talking about talking slower, the thing that she brought up too was as couples are really struggling, if couples are struggling, to remind them of things that they used to do together that were fun.
Behind the cement wall.
Yeah.
She said, wasn't that
Yeah.
powerful?
I love that. And that goes back to what you were saying, Linda, about, when we were courting each other and we used to do fun things together and we created those memories.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things I coach parents to do with their kids is create memories.
Yes.
And so we forget that as couples.
Right.
We want our kids to have memories, to be able to look back fondly on what it was like to grow up in our house. But we also need to remember, as couples, we need to create those memories.
Yeah, yeah.
And not create them, but also look back on them as we're struggling and say, okay, I remember when we went sledding 10 years ago and we were laughing hysterically. Okay, how can I bring that back into my relationship today? And bring that spontaneity and that joy back into my relationship today.
My husband's really good at that. He will say, remember, back, well, he won't say the year necessarily, but he'll say, remember when we did this, and it's a very specific interaction that lasted 72 seconds. But it's clear as day for him, and it was just a moment of fun or connection that is just huge.
Yeah.
And he's able to retrieve it and recall it and bring it back and bring it forward a lot. I find that it's
great that he could share that with you.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, and my heart really squeezed when she was talking about couples who were. Again, I'm remembering what she's written about a lot in her book is the couples from 9/11.
Yeah.
People that went through significant trauma after that incident, and how she encourages them to remember, go back into the vault and remember. And so she says, driving the Camaro backwards or whatever, and she says invariably each one smiles. And how powerful that was, to try to reconnect when you're feeling so broken and protected and scared or whatever it is that the trauma has done. And again, it's not all about, we didn't all do 9/11 trauma,
right.
But even just a diagnosis of high blood pressure or somebody lost a job, try to retrieve and get back to that connection and cause that smile. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but there's some research that says that they put people in MRI machines. Have you ever had an MRI?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you know
It's
the
loud.
boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom,
noisy.
right? So just the fact of having an MRI can be jarring and discombobulating, and they've done studies that show that if you're able to hold your loved one's hand while you're having the MRI, your all your sympathetic nervous system is tuned way down. So even if the MRI is only for the sake of a study, it isn't even because you're worried that you're going to find cancer or something. Even if you're just undergoing the MRI for this study of hand holding versus not hand holding, just being in this boom, 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 boom machine is jarring to your system.
Yeah.
But holding your beloved's hand throughout it, you're not nearly as tweaked. So that connection with somebody that you really care about, whether it's your child, your partner, your husband, your wife, your parents, whatever, it's just so key.
Well, I would think that would be especially powerful for a kid going through an MRI.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they're not about to say, Mommy, come hold my hand. And,
Well, maybe they will,
Certain
yeah.
ages they might, yeah. But, right, yeah. No, the human connection. This is. I think that's why we have Mighty Married Moms. We've experienced, and we know that our friends have experienced gaps in what we know is possible or what we dream is possible before we walk down the aisle or before we have these children, or before like I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to eat right, and we. Things kind of crumble and fall apart. And that's what we're doing this for, is because we all want to say, nope, we know we can close the gap and get to that place where things are better. And so she just really illustrated so many different ways that we're sewing that up a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. She's good people. She said she'd come back.
Yeah,
Which is great.
We're excited about that.
I know.
I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
Our listeners.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess the only last thing that I would just point out, because we've talked about a lot of the things that really struck out to me, but the last thing we talked about with her too was that partners are our resources.
Oh, yes.
And we're not alone. And there are a lot of couples that struggle that forget that they don't need to be alone if they are willing to stop and connect with their partner again and rebuild those memories and gaze lovingly into each other's eyes. And you don't have to feel alone. You can rebuild something, even if it's you're coming from a place of struggle.
Right. Yeah, she did really underscore that very, very well, that our relationships themselves are an untapped resource in a way, a resource that we don't leverage nearly enough in day-to-day life or in times of, a bigger hit or a bigger trauma. So I thought that was really helpful too. It was like, yeah. And even though like I said, the car accident, I called Jeff, I want you here. So I kind of know it in a way, but on a day-to-day basis, there are times when I say, I don't need to tell Jeff that. I'll just carry that stress myself. I don't know if that's really as helpful as it could be.
Right.
I'm trying to spare him. Oh, he's got enough on his plate. Well, that's true. But, part of the deal is that we carry things together. And so I learned something to not hold on to quite as much of things that it might be worrying me or of concern to me. And actually, when I've done that in the past, Jeff goes, "That's not a problem. I'll tell you why." And I'll go, "Oh, I wish I'd mentioned this earlier." So I actually have experience which shows me that holding on to it myself is not always the best idea, because I can kind of massage and nurse something into being much bigger than it is. So,
Mountains out of molehills.
yes,
Can't we all?
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, we hope that you, our listeners, and our viewers will find us online in all of our different social media areas, and you can easily see that on our website and on our Facebook page. And we hope that you will please go to iTunes and leave us a review. As we're getting this podcast up and running, reviews are going to be the thing that help spread the news, and share our links on your social media with all your social media friends.
Yeah.
If you're getting something out of this, we would love to hear from you as well. So,
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.